Hey everybody, welcome to Rhoades Outdoors video blog 2014. My name is Tori Rhoades and I'm going to give you my first video of the year, which means walleyes on Easter weekend on the Peshtigo River. So let me tell you a little bit of the Peshtigo. I've got some really good friends that grew up near Ocano and Peshtigo. They're not fishermen, but just through living there, they know that there's a giant walleye run to spawn up these rivers off the bay every spring. And this year, I wanted to go up there and I wanted to catch my personal best. I wanted giants and I wanted a whole bunch of them. And I've heard reports that this is the time of year to go. I've seen some TV shows where they catch 100 fish in a day and they catch multiple fish that are over 8 pounds. 10, 12 pound range is very common up there too. And I wanted a piece of that. So I went up there blind. I've never been there before. I didn't have any research done except for what I've seen on TV. And sometimes they don't show you much. They just want to sell you product. So those of you that know me know that when I fish walleyes, I use plastics and I use crankbaits. I showed up without any live bait whatsoever, and I did catch my personal best walleye. I had two baits that worked for me all day. One was what they call a live magic shad. Lake Fork Tackle makes it. It's basically a bass tackle manufacturer, and that's a 3/8 ounce jig head. And that thing was a little bit too heavy when I was just vertical jigging and casting upstream and bringing it down following the current. I went to a 1/4 ounce with just a regular 4-inch grub, and I caught fish on both baits, and there really wasn't one better than the other, but the 1/4 ounce was great as far as a weight goes when you're casting upstream and just letting the current bring it down the rocks. That worked really good. The 3/8 was a little bit too heavy. The problem that I had is a lot of times when you cast straight out the back of the boat and you just want your bait to flutter in the current on the bottom, downstream, I had too heavy of braided line. I had 30-pound braid, and that was a mistake, because regardless of what weight I was using, I could not feel the bottom because the current was very swift and very heavy. And I know for next time I'm going to go up there with either 8-pound or 10-pound braid max. And then I do always use a fluorocarbon leader of about 6, 8, or 10 pounds. And the bottom line is that my main line was too heavy. Here's what I think happens. I think what happens is when you have a major snow melt and there's huge runoff and that water floods in that river out of its banks, I think that rising water rapidly triggers those fish in the bay, and they're thinking, oh, this is time to go up to the dam and I'm going to go into that river and I'm going to spawn. Well, I think I was just late because the water had receded beneath the bank, so the water had dropped, and below the boat, I've never seen this before, but I actually saw walleyes bumping and grinding and laying eggs. They were in the process of spawning. And if walleyes are anything like smallmouth, I've seen smallmouth do this before, they could care less what kind of bait you got in front of their face when they're actually doing their duty in the springtime. And I think the bite, I missed it, I think by probably maybe as little as 5 days. And I think if I'd have been just a few days sooner, I'd have got there before a lot of these fish were going in the middle of the spawn. And I think I would have just cranked on them. I think I'd have killed them. So anyway, for next year, I'm going to dominate. So here's one last look at my giant, and we will see you guys on the next Rhoades Outdoors video blog.
7.45. Biggest one ever.